Well, hello, I'm here with Janeen Vosper from Speech Perfect, and Janeen is a branding and professional speaker coach. So we just want to have a bit of a chat today about branding, particularly she does a lot of work with over 50 women in business, but we've just had a bit of an interesting discussion about what they're struggling with and what their biggest need is, and what can we teach the kids at school to actually help them to grow their business is something that we're just discussing. So I'll just hand over to Janeen and she can explain what she does, and we'll get into, she's just come back from a branding retreat where you had a bunch of women up on Early Beach.
In the sun, and we're rugged up now. You can see how rugged up we are here, but we're on Early Beach and it was just all brilliant sunshine and warm days.
Yeah. So, you can tell them a little bit about that. I mean, that's the goal of business, is to be able to do the things that you like, but most people don't get there, but Janeen actually helps people get there, and this is where it's the reward for her coaching clients doing the stuff that she says. They then get to do the cool things like go on the branding retreat with her and all this sort of thing to really drive home and scale up their business. All right, so yeah, over to you.
So a little bit about me. I'm just understanding where I come from. I worked as a general manager of sales for a multi-million-dollar business for 20 years and was able to build the business with every mining company in Queensland.
All right.
Yeah, and most councils. So we were supplying safety and first aid supplies. So, and just from learning that and doing that, I wanted to set up my own business on the side, and this is where a lot of my women that I work with do exactly the same thing. There's a few reasons people do it. For me, it was the challenge of doing something different, and I was making somebody else a lot of money, and I thought, let's just do this for myself, wanting the freedom, not wanting to sit in an office all the time. I started Speech Perfect 17 years ago, and I've been helping hundreds of clients since then be able to deliver their message clearly and be able to hit the right target market, taking my sales experience, speaking training, LinkedIn training, and putting it together as a personal branding package.
And you said you worked in mining, which is, can we say, a fairly male-dominated industry?
Definitely. A lot of the clients I worked with in mining and supplying them were in mining and construction. So it was all males. It was mostly within the paramedic or the rescue team type of space, and again, they were all males in those spaces. There were very few females out on the mine sites and working in the coalface. And it was, what I learned is I didn't have to be a bloke. It was interesting, if I went on a construction site and the men were swearing, as they do on sites. I've got sons in construction, husband, father, all in construction. It happens when you're on site. It's an effective way to communicate, apparently. But I'd walk on site and they'd stop swearing and they'd apologise. And I would say something along the lines, look, that's fine, didn't hear a thing. I go deaf when I go on site. They would still be very, very polite and wouldn't swear. But because I didn't challenge them about their behaviour and just approved it, that they recognised that it was, I wasn't trying to be one of the blokes, but I wasn't trying to be a fancy female either. If you can get and that's what it is. What I'm talking about is whatever market you're in, you have to fit in, and finding a way to do that without taking offence, without being precious. People can't do the wrong thing towards you, but you'll find when you go into very heavily male-dominated environments, they are different. I've bred two men. Men behave differently, and all of the male students, as you would know, they often behave differently than female students. So you have to be prepared that whatever environment, whether I'm talking to the top guys in banking, as I was doing as well, or I'm on a construction site, you've got to, how can you fit in? It's an important factor, and that becomes who you are.
Well, I guess it's going back to, I mentioned a Simon Sinek quote, and it was actually on Larry King Live, which Larry King is one of the old talk show guys in America, and he said to Simon Sinek, well, do men and women, they do lead differently? And they do. And he sort of sat back and he goes, how am I going to explain this to this guy without sounding like I'm a feminist, basically, is what I took it as. And he went, I don't believe we need more female leaders. We need more leaders that act like females, and women just happen to be better at that. And this is where it comes into a lot of the problems that I'm finding in business, is that when females get in there and they're authentic to themselves, and then they get up and they get promoted into positions, and then they start acting like the stereotypical old men.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that that doesn't work anymore in business, because particularly with the younger generation, they just resist and they object, and they don't hang around in a lot of Gen Z culture and this sort of thing. So I guess, how is it that, you do branding specifically more so for women?
More so.
But how is it that men can improve, particularly over 50 men, can improve their brand image, I guess, with the younger generation?
Interesting. Most of my professional speaking coaching clients are men.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think 100% at the moment, which is really interesting. How can the male... Communication is an interesting factor. I worked with a business that had people in their 70s and 17 to 70. And the 70-year-old men, they were complaining that the 17-year-olds standing next to them were texting them rather than having a conversation with them. And I think that's the important factor, is understanding how people want to communicate, but also understanding what's expected in that business. We can't always do what's comfortable for us. We have to do what the business expects.
Yeah.
So with that particular business, we worked out, well, the first part of that was just really understanding that each generation communicates quite differently. As 70-year-olds, baby boomers, they want to have a face-to-face conversation with you. The Gen Zs it's an easy text, and then there's everything in between as well. The Ys got good at doing emails because they're the first generation really that had emails too. So it depends on how it's expected in a business and how someone else expects you to communicate. One of my favorite quotes is, it's not do unto people as you want done unto yourself. It's do unto people as they would want it done. And that's an important factor.
I guess it's a case that if they're looking for employment opportunities and all this sort of thing, they apply for jobs, they go and they get dressed up because, realistically they need to get dressed up in business too. They want to look like they fit in. But it doesn't have to be a suit or something like that. Is that trying too hard for them? Or?
Well, it depends where they're going.
Yeah.
And that's such an important factor. I always think you have to be well dressed for the work, for what you're doing for an interview. So what does well dressed mean? If you're going well dressed for an interview in a cafe or in a construction company, it's very different than well dressed when you're going to maybe work in a law firm. It's what is expected in that, and it's the same with the communication. It's the same with the way you dress. It's the same with expectation of turning up on a day. It's the same with the hours that you work, whatever. It's what that business expects. So you would check it out. You would figure out what people in that workplace would be wearing and probably dress very similar to how they are. So sometimes, and also where they're located. I remember I did an interview for staff in a sales team in Cairns, and I had people turning up in shorts and thongs and T-shirts, but I also had someone come in a really nice light shirt, polo shirt, long trousers, well dressed, and he's the guy that got the job because he fitted the work environment, the expectation from a sales rep, but he also fitted into that Cairns, North Queensland casual type of space. Yeah. So getting it right. Yeah. Yeah,
and I think that this is something where getting it or picking the right type of person to work with is probably more important for Gen Z or school leavers particularly.
Yeah.
So I think we can all agree that they probably don't want to work for someone that's like their parents, but their grandparents are a viable option. But how would you suggest, or what sort of things do you think that what concerns do the over 50s generation or the grandparents generation have with employing young people that maybe they can address when they walk into the interview?
Interesting. And what's popped in my head is first impressions do count, Brett. The first impression sticks.
They will judge you.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
This is the generation that we are.
But the younger generation judge as well. It's part of human nature. We make a judgment.
Normally judge online before.
We do, yeah. We make a judgment call. So that's the first part of it. Working with, and I mostly work with women in sole traders who've gone into their own business for a few different reasons. One was like I explained for myself, just wanting the challenge. Others may have been in a workplace where they weren't valued and the dynamics of the workplace changed. So they may have experienced bullying and they've gone out and said, well, you know what, I'm really good at HR, or I'm really good at helping people, I'm going to become a coach or whatever. They'll move into that space. So they're great technicians, but they've never necessarily had the marketing skills or the other skills. So how does Gen Z work with that particular era? And if you're talking over 50s, you're talking Ys, aren't you? Is it Gen Y? It's not baby boomers.
Yeah.
Although I am a baby
Gen X. Well, I'm Gen X, so
you're Gen X. Yeah, you're Gen X. I am tail end of a baby boomers.
Mm-hmm.
But what that grandparent type of role or the parents is that it will be judged on how you look, guaranteed. That's just a given.
Yeah, and that's what we're always brought up.
Yeah.
Before social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And it will also then what skills you've got that you can offer them that will help them solve their problems. And that's the main thing, is what's the problems? What problem is that person having? So if they've gone into business and they're a good technician, but they hate marketing, they hate being in front of the camera, they don't understand AI, they don't know how to improve on their website, because they're doing kinesiology or naturopath or something.
And that's what they want to do.
That's what they want to do. They don't want to be mucking around with the time, because what might take someone who's skilled in it 10 minutes to do, it might take them all day, and they're wasting a lot of time. So understanding what their needs are, not what you can do.
Yeah,
and that is the biggest. How can you asking enough questions? And this is where this communication thing comes in, being able to ask the person enough questions to understand what their problem is and whether you can assist them to solve that problem. And it might be, I don't want to get in front of the camera. Well, that's okay. I don't want to be, but maybe I can do an interview to demonstrate. Let me help you do an interview to demonstrate your skill base. Mm-hmm. Or I don't want to be mucking around with a website. Well, let me help you do that.
And doing the work that matches their brand,
yes,
not what you think is good, is probably the key.
That's such an important factor. And I have had, some, we've got some background noise here now.
That's right.
I had some Gen Z, and it's not the generation, but these people just did not listen to me. They did not understand me. They did not do any research. I've got 170 something episodes on a podcast. Mm-hmm. I've got hundreds of blogs. If you want to learn about me, it's really easy to find me and learn about me. And I gave them a whole lot of information. I gave them direction. And what came back was not in my branding colours, and it was absolute rubbish. It was not targeting my target market at all. It was what they thought it should be and not what I wanted. So it was off-brand totally. And that's the important factor, is ensuring that you are helping, that whoever you get is helping the person develop their brand the way they want it developed.
And I think there's an old psychological thing that says our personalities are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And this is how marketing companies set up their avatar. They pick their 5 best clients, or the people that they want to spend the most time with, and it's usually the 20% that make 80% of their profits. Mm-hmm. What they do is they write down everything they know about this person. Everything. Do they have kids? Do they in school? What do they do for income? All of this sort of stuff, all the data. And then if 3 out of the 5 of them have something in common, they put it on a list, and that's how they make an avatar.
Yeah.
So that then when you're talking to that avatar, all of those 5 people, it's similar enough to them to what then is that you get that resonance, and empathic resonance is what actually gets people to get their money out and pay you for products.
Yeah.
And the price of your product isn't paid for, isn't what people will pay for, it's what they will pay extra for, because that means that you're giving away value. And that's what differentiates you in the market. So this is where the branding comes into it. If you've got a good brand, you look good, all of this sort of stuff, but you're not actually providing value, which is what people will pay extra for. And you mentioned that one of your clients has got this client and she had some really good results with it. That's something that people will pay extra for. So,
absolutely.
So what did she do?
Well, what I encourage her to do, because everyone's still working. Because again, asking for reviews and ask them that. Again, that's not her thing. She's there to help the person get the results, and this is naturopathic, and not go, oh, now I've got to ask for a review or that. And that's where other people knowing that's her shortfall.
There's a lot of skepticism in that market, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah. And for me, I ask for reviews constantly, and I have 55 5-star reviews and other testimonials. And the other thing that works well is going for awards, and that builds your brand as well. But it's someone helping someone do that needs to really understand that person's brand and do it well. Because they go, oh, I don't want to write an award. Well, if you get someone to help write it for you and with you, they still need to understand your brand.
Yeah. Well, we love a good framework in training. Yeah. And you've got a brand talk that I did, B-A-R-A-N-D.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what that's actually an acronym for
it is.
Your framework.
Oh, now you're testing me.
B was bold, wasn't it?
It was. It was be bold. So it means really take action on things that you're not comfortable with.
Take a risk, back yourself.
It is, and that's you're talking to the students here about what they can do. So again, taking that risk and putting yourself out there. And this is because I've taught sales for 40 years. Is a no is it's a guaranteed no if you don't ask. So that's part of it. Is be bold, be relevant. What are you doing? Is it relevant to what your market wants to hear and know and see and do? And are you relevant in the marketplace? Because I know sometimes we've had to do some big switches and changes around. So creating something that's relevant to the market, they become an authority. So be an authority on, and that is through blogs and posts and really show that you know what you're talking about.
Which they can help them with.
Absolutely, yeah. And even, I teach people how to stand up in front of the room, because if you're in front of the room, you're the authority, you're the speaker. But you need to know how to put a presentation together, which is part of what you're doing as well. N is to get noticed. That means get out there on all of the socials. Now, I am on right across all the socials that where my market sits. But I also, it's not there to sell things. No. It's there to build a profile. It's there to be noticed. And I do a lot of networking. So I walk into a room and people know me. Or they go, yeah, I've seen you somewhere. I'm not sure where. And then D is delivery, I think. Oh, gosh, I haven't done this one for a little while.
But putting a test on, you can tell that we've known each other for a while.
Yeah, I actually do it. You can have everything in place. You can be thinking about these things. But you've got to go and do it, and that's often the hardest part. Procrastination is quite an easy thing to do, or fear, and as I said before, everything that you don't do is already a no. So take that step. So just do it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Oh, thanks. It's been a great chat today, and I hope you got something out of that. She's mentioned that you worked in a male-dominated industry. You're actually the author of a book. Good Girls Do Sell.
I am author of 2 books.
2 books, yeah. And the other one is?
The other one's called Being Unstoppable.
Yeah, and both of those, I think I've mapped to units of the Diploma of Business. So if you're interested in that, get in contact with Janeen and you can buy the book for the students.
Absolutely.
I'd just like to thank Janeen Vosper. Always great to catch up. We do a lot of networking and run into each other, but we very rarely get the chance
over a lot of years too,
yeah,
Brett.
so it's been about 8 or 9 years now. Yeah. Janeen actually spoke at the first ever meetup that I organised. And if you want any tips and advice, I'll put some links to Janeen in there as well. Put some links to her books.
And the podcast, the We Are Women podcast.
Yeah,
have a listen.
I mean, there's thousands of hours you probably of your life you could spend there. But I looked at 175 podcasts. It was voted in the top 50 podcasts for women of business.
Yeah, it was.
I think as well. So it's not like she doesn't know what she's talking about. But this is where I'm hoping that you've got some messages out of this today. It's about being authentic to yourself and who you are, because at the end of the day, you've got to get along with the people that you're working with. Mm-hmm. But if you're trying to be someone that you're not, that's not going to last long. And this is why you're probably going to last 3 months in that job.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I know we're wrapping up, but you used that word for the first time. It's being authentic. Yeah. People will connect with you. It's still all about relationships, and getting offline when you're working for somebody and building a relationship as an employee with them, then that's such an important thing. So you've got to be real.
There we go. All right. Thanks for your time. We'll see you soon.
Bye.